to another episode of TubeTalk.
Thank you, Kate, on what is quite a quiet week.
Yes. So, let's...
But we're going to do a Caulfield Cup Preview and talk about other couple things too.
So, let's get into it. So, last week we had Rock Island Line, who ran fourth, but was very deserving of a win.
He is very deserving of a win. 2 fourths his last 2 starts. He, lovely ride from Casilla, hooked him out, came hard, finished off well. We had a question mark over a mile, but he sorted out no problem. He's probably only beaten half a length between first and fourth. And probably the key issue for him was the track just kept drying out, and it was a dead 5, and if it was a dead 6, slow 7, he would have sprinted that much better and probably would have won. So he's knocking right on the door. 2nd November he'll race at Palmerston North. He'll go up a grade, drop in weight, and he'll drop about 8 kilos in weight. So he'll be hard to beat next start.
Cool. Then on Thursday, Sale also ran fourth.
Yeah, 2 fourths to start off his campaign. Bad barrier draw, got back in the field, tracked under, had to come very, very wide on the turn to make his run, cover a lot of extra ground. Finished off hard, like Rock Island Line, probably beaten half a length between first and fourth. And he's a horse that, if he got a good barrier draw, probably would have won. He is that close to winning. Just a good barrier draw, he's on the up. He looks like quite an exciting prospect. Yeah, he's been short.
Cool. Then this week, we have one runner only on Saturday. Pull your socks up and race 8 at Rostropovich.
Yeah, and part of the problem is we had a whole bunch of runners set to start, but all this very wet weather has just meant we've had to change plans. 2 meetings cancelled this week at Tierra and Waipukurau, and not only that, but with all the wet weather, we've pulled out all our horses from Avondale, all our runners from Rotorua, apart from Pull Your Socks Up. She's in the last race. She's drawn the outside barrier 14 and 14, but coming up really well. Not too worried about the barrier draw because it'll be a wet-ish track. We'll make a decision on the morning whether she runs. If she does run, she's certainly a winning chance. But if it looks like it's going to be pretty heavy and sticky, we might just scratch it and wait. We don't want to knock the stuffing out of it. But a definite winning chance if she runs.
Cool. So now it's time for Bet of the Week. So this week, our Bet of the Week is in Ashburton in race 2. Number 1, Chief Sequoia.
Yes, so Chief Sequoia from the Marsh Barn, who has a run on the Caulfield Cup as well. They're heading towards New Zealand Cup with it. So it's a rating 65, 2,200 metres. It's only a 10-horse field. It's got top weight. Last run would have tied it up nicely. And if they're heading to a New Zealand Cup, they'll be expecting to be winning this race. So I think we can take the short odds around it and be reasonably confident with Chief Sequoia on Saturday. He's our clear bet of the week.
Cool. So before we get into the Caulfield Cup, we just thought we'd mention that you might be going to England to get some more horses, and if you'd like to talk about that.
Thank you, Kate. Yes, we're heading to the TAPS Horses and Training Sale at Newmarket at the end of this month. It starts on the 28th of October. It's a sale we've had enormous success from. Alward for 35,000 guineas 3 years ago. He's now won $500,000.
Wow.
Sale he ran this week, he ran 4th. We just talked about him. We bought him from there last year. He was like 32,000 guineas. We bought Saw Pippin from there last year. It cost 24,000 guineas, and he won his first 2 races in Melbourne. Bang bang, and he's just about to start his next prep. So with the horses, you don't have to pay a huge amount of money for, but they're talented. They get in really well in the ratings. They can usually walk straight into city races in Australia for $125,000, and they can go a long way and win a lot of money. So if you're interested in being involved, give me a call.
Or an email.
0508 Go Racing, or email me, Albert at Go
or
Racing.
Even text.
Yeah, and I can talk to you about being involved in those horses that have been popular, very popular.
Yes, and successful.
Okay,
so now it's time for the Caulfield Cup.
It is.
Horses.
So let's do a preview. My opinion only.
Mm-hmm.
No financial guarantees.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll probably get it completely wrong because it's a very, very open Caulfield Cup this year. But let's run it through them runners by runners, and I'll give you what I think, Kate.
You've written down some notes.
That's why I've got my laptop today.
Can't really see it, but yes, you have it. Okay, so number 1, Hartnell now. Do you want me to say the number as well?
You can just say number 1 Hartnell, and then and that's good.
Okay.
Hartnell, fantastic war horse. Probably the Caulfield Cup from to win was a few years ago when he decided to take on Winks in the Cox Plate instead, and the Caulfield Cup was a mercy. I still liked him and thought he was a definite top 3, top 4 chance until the barrier draws came out and he got barrier 17 with top weight. And I would love to see him win. Absolutely love to see him win. I think it would be brilliant. But I just think that might just have knocked his chances a bit. So I can't have him on my top 4.
Okay. So number 2, Mirage Dancer.
And of course we're doing that, and now my mouse has decided not to work, but that's okay. So, Mirage Dancer, import trained by Trent and Natalie Buston, ex-Kiwi trainers, very good trainers. He's obviously a really good horse. He's travelled before. He's been to Hong Kong. His form looks very good. My only knock on him was he's probably weighted not as well as some of the other international horses, and you can't pick them all. I think his barrier draw is okay. I wouldn't be surprised to see him win, but I've got him just outside of my top 4, and that sort of 5th, 6th, 7th range.
Okay, cool. Number 3, Glaze.
Yeah, very Japanese horse, and we know how good they are. They come down most years and get a lot of spoils. He's won, I think, 5 or 6 in a row.
Caulfield Cups.
I don't think he's ever raced over in a row. He's never raced over 2,400 metres, but he looks tough and hard, and I don't think that is going to be a concern at all.
Yeah.
For him, he's got barrier 21, and that is a concern. But he has Damien Lane on board, who's riding very, very well. I think if he'd drawn a decent barrier, I think I would have had him
first or second,
right up there. But with that barrier draw, I still think he's a very good chance. But the open nature of the race this year, there's a question mark from the draw. He's going to have to get some cover at some point.
Okay, number 4, Mustajeer.
Another import. I just wonder if this horse would be better suited by the Melbourne Cup, the distance of the Melbourne Cup, than the Caulfield Cup, and I'll probably prove to be wrong. And I just thought there might be a couple of other imports that he's got barrier 16, which doesn't help him. He's on the drift in the market. He opened at 950. He's out to 13s. I think that tells a little bit of a story. And again, he's one of those horses that I'd have in that sort of 5th attempt to break it.
Cool. Number 5 is Rostropovich.
Rostropovich, he looked this time last year, he ran 5th in the Melbourne Cup. He ran, I think, 5th in the Cox Plate as well. He looked a really good horse. He looked like with 12 months on him, he'd be right there. He went to Hong Kong last December, so he's travelled again, but he's come back, and I just don't know if he's come up as well this time in. So I couldn't have him in my multiples.
Okay. Number 6, Finch.
Finch was all the way through, he's been my pick to win the race. Last year he ran 4th in the Melbourne Cup after he hadn't been in Australia long. He's come back, he's racing as well, or has improved, if not better. He won the Kingston Town Super Run at weight for age in the Turnbull last start over 2,000 metres. Everything for him looked like he was the one, and then he got the barrier draw of, I think, was it 21 19. Barrier draw of 19, and that means that Michael Walker is going to have to ride the race of his life, or he's going to have to get in the 3 wide with cover line, not exposed, and he'll have to either ride very well, get a bit of luck, or he'll have to sit 3 wide and probably be the best horse in the best start of the field. But he's certainly still, he's right up there. I've got him right up there. His preparation looks ideal.
Cool. Number 7, Gold Mount.
Yet another making their Australian debut. He's a 7-year-old. He's had 29 starts. He's well travelled, but he's another one of these horses that I believe is probably more set for the Melbourne Cup and the 3200 metres and the 2400. He might just race, in my opinion, looking at his form, maybe just a touch down for the Caulfield Cup. So I don't have him in my top 5.
Okay. Number 8, Red Verdon.
Red Verdon. Yet another import, Kate, who I think might just be also in that same category as the last horse that we talked about. He might just be more of a Melbourne Cup horse. He did win 2 starts back. He was 14th in the EBA handicap, which has been a good guide in past years to coming out to Australia, but he's on the drift as well. He's got a wide draw. I think the Melbourne Cup is more what they're interested in.
Yeah. Okay, number 9, Angel of Truth.
Won the ATC Derby looking like a very, very good horse in the autumn. This time up, probably his form just hasn't quite been as good, and sometimes these very good 3-year-olds can struggle in their spring of the 4-year-old year when they're up against the older horses. And I don't think his form is quite there. So I not for me.
Okay. Number 10, Big Duke.
I like this horse as a roughie. I think that his run in the Metropolitan was good. He wasn't beaten far. He was finishing off strongly. I know he's an 8-year-old. He's got barrier 1. He's going to do absolutely no work in the running. You can sort of see him sitting handy enough for him, and the gap's opening up and finishing off well. And I think at $51, I think he's a really good outsider. And I think you should. He's a horse you should definitely have in your trifecta's first horse. Don't mind him at all.
Cool. Number 11, Constantinople.
Is one of the imports that has a good barrier draw. He's got barrier 7. He's a 3-year-old by Northern Hemisphere time, so he's a 4-year-old by Southern Hemisphere time. That seems to have, he gets him with a lightweight. It's by Galileo. There's so many things in his favour that have been used there's a profile that in recent years has proven to be very, very successful in some of these big races, and he's got that profile. And I think he came out best after the barrier draws. The distance isn't going to be a problem. Weight's not a problem. Good jockey. I think he's right in it.
Cool. Then number 12, Mr. Quickie.
Mr. Quickie won. He won the Queensland Derby in the winter. He then came back, ran very well, ran 3rd in the Maccabi Diva first up. His second up run in the Turnbull wasn't great, but the Turnbull was actually was a bit of a funny run race. But he's just another one of those horses that there has to be a question mark about how they've come up in the spring, going on his last run. And he's one I'd be prepared to risk.
Okay.
When you've got a horse that's had 15 starts for 9 wins, hard to say that, but he's a horse, I'd be prepared to risk.
Okay. Number 13, Crown Prosecutor.
Would love to see this horse win or run very, very well for the connections. Stephen Marsh, La Britannia, Bruce Perry, they're great people, good friends. He won the Derby in New Zealand at $100 to $100, $105 he paid. His last run, ridden differently, was very good, over 2,000 metres. He'll have no problem with the 1.5 miles. He's got barrier 2. There's a lot of those things in his favour. There is a question mark on his class, simply up against these very good Australian horses. But he's had quite a few things just fall in his favour. And I can see him, I don't have him in my first 4 or 5, but I can certainly see him running in that 6th to 10th spot and winning them some prize money, getting a soft run, and he's won a Group 1 before at 100 to 1, and he's only 34 to 1 for this one. So not in the top 5, but he's going well.
Okay, and number 14, Valon Declare.
Yeah, Valon Declare, he ran 2nd in the Queensland Derby. He looks like he's come back up better than Mr. Quickie, the Queensland Derby winner. Doesn't have a lot of weight on his back. But he's only had 1 run in, which was the Turnbull. Little bit of question mark for me coming in 2nd up. does look to have a big future, but I'd be prepared to risk him in this race.
Cool. Then number 15, Birmingham Rock.
Yeah, he won at Caulfield 2 starts ago, the naturalism, so he likes Caulfield. I thought the Metropolitan was his race. I thought that he was a massive chance in it, and he finished off nice enough without really threatening and looking. And I think if you want to be winning a Caulfield Cup, you probably need to be going a little bit better on the Metropolitan. So if he'd won the Metropolitan or been close up, I would have had him higher in my picks. But just going on that last run, probably I'll risk him.
Okay. Number 16, the Chosen One.
Again, a horse that's raced by some good friends of ours, and I would love to see him run well. He won the Herbert Power last week over 2400. He came to the sustained finish. He's got a sense of timing about him. He's a 4-year-old. He ran very well in the autumn, but he's also come back in the spring, and he's running super now. So he was very, very good in his last run. Barrier 22 does not help him at all.
Yeah.
Very, very difficult for him. And it would have been nice if he'd drawn better. Just wonder if last week wasn't his grand final, but backing up a week later may not be ideal. Would love to see him win it. It might be just too hard from that draw.
Yeah.
But I hope he runs really well.
Okay.
And he's obviously a very, very promising horse going forward.
Cool. Number 17, Casilla.
Casilla, yeah, she won the South Australian Oaks as a spring 3-year-old. She's come up as a 4-year-old, ran 8th in the Herbert Power. Would probably have to be like the Chosen One, winning it and running second, or going very, very close to be a chance in this. So I couldn't have her.
Okay.
Not for me.
Last horse, number 18.
Not counting the emergencies, yes.
Wolf.
So Wolf got into the race by winning the Coonji on Wednesday, and it was a very, very tough effort. He led, got tackled, fought back. He's only lightly raced, he said 10 starts for 6 wins. He's been up a while, he's come all the way through the winter. It just looked to me on Wednesday that he had to really dig deep to win, which he did, so he's obviously very tough. Backing up after 3 days, I think is hard. 4 days is very hard, and that might have been might be burnt out. Might just have been top him off a little bit, but he's obviously very, very good going forward. He's got a good draw, he'll probably lead, he'll be handy and give you a sight for a long time, but I'd be prepared to risk him on the backup. Okay, well, that's it. So our top 4 picks, Kate.
Yes.
At the end of all of this, I've stuck with Finch.
Yep.
He's been my horse the whole way through. Poor barrier draw, but he's got a fantastic sense of timing. He gets a bit of luck.
Ooh. Sorry, guys.
Right. He gets a bit of luck in the running, and he's right there, just in front of Constantinople, who's got all the right profiles about him.
And a cool name.
And a cool name, and he's got a good barrier draw. I nearly flipped them around the other way, but I've stuck with Finch. Murder Glaze, the Japanese horse, bad barrier draw, but he's obviously very, very good, very, very tough for 3rd, and Big Dukin for 4th out 50 to 1 shot. Cool. So we will see if we make $1 million, but it's a very, very open race, and wouldn't be surprised. I think there's probably 10 or 11 chances, but good luck with your punting on Saturday. Okay, bye.
Down the outside, then Iron Horse and Marble Horse from a long way back, but Might and Power well clear. 150 metres left to go. He's 6 lengths ahead. Marble Horse along the inside. Adan in the clear. Doremus down the outside, finishing on strongly, but Might and Power has bolted in with the Caulfield Cup. He wins by 8 lengths.